welcome to the Sexuality Scale Project podcast. Well, that's a mouthful. I will be talking to different people of different backgrounds, ages, countries, and orientation about how they view and experience sex, about their journey finding their own sexuality and hopefully the right people to have sex with. In this episode, we're exploring open relationships, being dominated, and feeling free to explore and be playful.
I'm 26.
What do you identify as?
I identify as a woman.
Okay. And what is your sexual orientation?
I am mostly straight, but open.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I identify as. Open, mostly straight these days.
Okay. These days.
Uh-huh.
Let's explore that. What do you mean these days? What happened
before? I would say like within the last 6 years, so when I first moved to San Francisco, I started to kind of open up to the idea maybe I liked women and like found myself thinking about women a lot and thinking about having sex with them. And then it wasn't until I moved to the Netherlands where I explored having sex with a few different women and haven't done it again since then, since I lived there.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it about where in the Netherlands?
There was one sex party that I went to in Amsterdam where I met a couple and had sex with a woman there.
Yeah.
And the other two were friends.
Right. This couple, was those two women or was it a man and a woman?
A man and a woman.
A man and a woman. Okay. So you had a threesome with a couple, man and woman, and then had sex with a woman.
Yep. Actually, 2 of the 3 women that I had sex with was couples. But it was, for both of them, it was the woman, for me, why I was there.
Right.
That I was attracted to. The man was kind of like...
You're like...
Not really.
You're just there.
Yeah.
You're an appendix on what's happening right now. Right. Have you ever been interested in somebody who's trans? Like, has that ever happened to you?
I actually had one experience here in Berlin. I was in a club. It was last summer. And I was with this girl, and she was trans. And I was so into it. Like so fully into making out and just touching, and we were together a lot throughout the whole night. And I think even like I was licking her nipples, and when it was all happening, I was so sure in the moment that like I wanted her to come home with me, and that didn't end up happening. When the sun came up, then maybe we were a little more sober actually.
Yeah.
That I wasn't so attracted as I had been throughout the night. But that was the first time for me. And
right. So this was a male to female.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So that kind of puts you more in like a pansexual, doesn't it?
Is that what it would be?
Yeah.
Just kind of open, pansexual.
Open, yeah.
Like,
yeah. So whatever you've defined it as open, if you really want to stick a label to it for, all those people that need that, it would be pansexual.
Okay.
Interesting. So you said when you were in San Francisco, you started to be more open-minded to women. Was that your first conscious moment where you did it, or did you have any prior thoughts when you were a kid, maybe?
Yeah, actually, you're reminding me right now in this moment. When I was a kid, I used to like make out with my little cousin. And she was a girl.
Kissing cousin.
And I don't tell many people that. But
interesting.
That was definitely the first time.
How old were you then?
I must have been like between 5 and 7, I would say.
Right.
Maybe smaller, but I feel like around then.
How do you feel about just kind of going into another route? But how do you feel about one-night stands? Because you were just telling me the story about the trans lady.
Totally.
And you were like, I'm taking this person home. But I'm suspecting that it was just kind of like, in the moment, I'm going to do this tonight. And I'm not really foreseeing, like, not really going to think about anything else after that. But for right now.
Yeah, I have definitely had my experience with plenty of one-night stands.
Right.
And I also, like, more in my early 20s, later teens, feel like I was fulfilled by it at the time. And now I'm starting to want deeper connection. And also, I would say, like, I'll tell you, like, my first year in Berlin that it's been now, I've had like one-night stands here and there, probably definitely more than I've had relationships. The sex just has not been very fulfilling.
Really?
Really. I have not had yeah. So, and where I'm at, I'll say, like, right now, today, feel like, yeah, I'm open to one-night stands if it's just totally right and that's what I want. And I also feel like when I have a one-night stand at this point, I fully go into it not expecting anything
Afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's a conscious decision that you're making at that time then. It's not like you're blindly going into it like, I really want to fuck somebody, I just want to have that physical pleasure, you know. Is there any emotion behind that? Because if you're consciously already beforehand thinking, I don't want, or I'm not going to expect anything, even though I'm really into this person, doesn't that mean that at that point you're kind of shutting down your emotions? Yes or no?
Yeah, I think it does, actually. Yeah, I think it does. Like, I disconnect from absolutely showing emotion. I'm feeling like also nowadays where I'm at with my sex is if I'm having sex with someone, I'm loving this person.
Right.
Like, I am. There's also a space where I can just, like, consciously remember what has happened in my past, that when I have one-night stands with people, I mean, how many men that I feel like I love or I'm really attracted to or have some intimate moment, like, actually nothing happens between us.
Right.
Mostly.
Right.
Actually. But the way that I am, it doesn't really work for me to just, like, fuck someone who I'm not even attracted to or don't feel anything.
Right. So it's not just, because here's always kind of how I'm viewing it myself, is that some people are capable of having one-night stands just for that physical. That has nothing to do with emotions. And I do think that most women, I'm not going to generalize, but most women tick a little differently. So when you're saying, like, in that moment, I feel an emotional connection with this person, that's when you can have sex. So when you're not feeling that, you cannot have sex. Would you still do it, though?
I also actually wouldn't say I wouldn't have sex. Yeah, I don't know. I guess sometimes when I find myself also in situations that are sexual, even if it's not like penetration, but still quite a sexual, right? Intimate, erotic experience.
Right.
Sometimes I really just find myself in the space of curiosity, sometimes totally doing it for, like, wow, this is fucking interesting, and this is where it's going, and, like, you know, kind of it's like a unique experience to be having.
Right.
And sometimes I keep rolling with that when I feel that.
If it's also an exploring thing, then how was that the first time you had sex? How old were you?
I was 17 the first time I had sex.
Right.
I had been seeing and, like, dating a guy who I was working with. And
where were you working?
I was working at Mervyn's.
What's Mervyn's?
Mervyn's is in the United States, California. It's like JCPenney, like a department store. Department store, yeah.
Okay.
And we were working together. He was a little bit older. And yeah, we ended up having sex at my house. The night before, the first time I went to a rave and took ecstasy for the first time, too. It was a big 24 hours for me.
A lot of firsts.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So did you take the ecstasy and then you felt the love?
Oh, it was before.
Oh,
it was the night before. Him and I had sex, and then the next day.
And then you went, oh.
But it was like fully planning. Knew I was going to this rave for the first time and took ecstasy.
17.
17.
Wow. Yeah.
That was when raves in the United States or California had no age limit.
Really?
Yeah. Until
there was no
until I think I was 18 or 19 that like anyone could go to raves because
crazy.
they were just kind of underground.
Yeah, that's true. So how was that first experience for you? Because you have a very exploring nature, I think. Mm-hmm. So was it because, you see the horrible things in movies where teenagers have sex and then the guy's just kind of on top of the girl and not really caring about what's going on down there for her? So how would you rate it?
I wouldn't rate it so high. No. It was also kind of one of those things to just check off my box. That
Literally?
happened. Yeah, I remember it just being pretty dark in my bedroom, right? No lights on. Just kind of very, like, blind, I would say. I also remember it being, like, a little painful.
Yeah.
I don't remember much from it. Just that it was a dark room. And it hurt a little bit.
Right.
But I didn't feel... I was probably also like a little proud of myself.
No, I was just going to say, like, did you feel glad you got it over with? Was it kind of like, okay, well, finally done that?
Exactly. I think so.
Right. I can imagine.
Although, you know what? Then I didn't actually have sex for a whole year after that.
Really?
Maybe I still had sex with him a few times. I think we had sex a few times. We saw each other for a few months. But
because you were kind of dating, right?
He turned out to be a little crazy. Like a lot of men I found. Somehow. And I didn't have
what a lot of men talk about women, but
yeah. No, I didn't have sex for like a whole year, actually.
Wow. Why was that?
Let's see. It was my senior year of high school. I don't know why that was.
Not interested? Focusing on other stuff?
Always interested in men.
Always.
I've always, since I was little, remember like wanting a boyfriend and da-da-da. But you know what? It was also a big time for me. Well, yeah. I'd lost my mom the year before when I was 16.
Right, yeah.
So, and then I like found raves actually. And that first year, I was going to raves every month and just this like wild girl. Wasn't actually having sex. But everything else was like quite wild. Yeah.
Right. No, but you were focusing on other stuff then. You were focusing on yourself.
Yeah, somehow.
That's
exactly.
Would you say now that like sex is better when love is involved, when you're really, really into somebody?
Absolutely. Which, to be honest with you, I'm not finding that every day and every encounter, and my body's hungry for sex.
Right.
My heart is also hungry for, I guess maybe it's more connection, but I still explore sex even when I'm not like fully in love with someone, because I do get some sort of like comfort in it. But
yeah. Do you not feel like some people comment to me that they feel empty afterwards? Like sometimes they'll have a one-night stand and then they're like, I don't know why I do it, because afterwards I feel kind of empty.
You know, yeah. I also notice in different situations, different one-night stands that I have, sometimes I feel totally fine and it was totally fulfilling and I don't ever talk to that person again, but it was like so satisfying. But I guess it's more when I would like to see that person again and I'm not, where the hurt comes in and the pain comes in.
Oh, right. So that's like, that's an interesting new angle for me. Because then you chose consciously to have a one-night stand, kind of, but then you actually really liked it and you kind of start liking the person while you were going through these motions, and then you're like, oh, I kind of want more.
Yeah.
But is then beforehand already kind of the unspoken agreement that you wouldn't?
Most of the time, there's not really a spoken agreement.
It's just kind of a given, this is going to be a one-night stand. Because if you like this person so much and you're having a one-night stand and you're like, oh, I kind of would like to do this again.
Right.
Do you not ask, him, I would, I'm
Mostly,
assuming, then for his number and say, hey, I kind of really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I totally would.
But you don't?
No, I would.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So then it starts with sex, but then might end up into more. Maybe.
Yeah, I haven't really been having so many one-night stands lately. And a pattern that I have found, though, like, also, yeah, if I'm having sex with someone the first night that I'm meeting them,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when was the last time I did that? I don't even remember.
Then it must have been a while.
But I've been seeing this pattern coming up, of course, with men that I'm dating here in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell me pretty quickly, like after our second or third date, and maybe we've already had sex. Just so you know, I'm not looking for anything
Serious.
exactly.
Are these German men?
One German, one Brazilian.
Right. Okay, so it's not a
They were both saying
It's not a German pattern. But is it then completely over? Is it like done?
No. No.
They just don't want something serious, but they want to keep seeing you. Right?
Yeah. What happened
Yeah.
Well, I would say, like, from both of these guys who told me I don't want anything serious, they also really showed up as if they didn't want anything serious. And
so, did it become then like just a sexual encounter, or was this still like more like a like a
for
friendship
one of
thing?
them, yes, and we're no longer speaking because I was realizing too, I feel like I'm open. I feel like I tell myself I think I'm open to having casual relationships with people. You don't have to be my boyfriend, my one and only. We can be seeing other people. But I want to be respected and I want communication. And like it is something intimate that I'm sharing with someone if I'm having sex with them.
Right.
And especially if I'm having sex consistently with someone. Like regardless of us saying, this is serious or you're my girlfriend or my boyfriend.
Right.
We're intimate and I want to be respected and I want to feel safe here.
Right.
And not just
so you want
fucking
clarity,
blown off. Yeah.
You want transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Like still treat me like a friend at least,
Yeah.
It's the way some men.
But have you ever been in an open relationship? Like that you had just one partner that you were with and then you were able to explore other people but not start relationships with other people?
Tried that when I was in San Francisco.
All right.
Because also living in San Francisco was the first place I had heard of open relationships, polyamory, and the concept of it really makes a lot of sense to me. And I look forward to exploring it more deeply. Anyways, I ended up moving into a new house in San Francisco and very quickly, like the first month that I lived there, started a romantic relationship with a guy who was living in the house. Mm-hmm. And before we got together, he was telling me, yeah, I'm polyamorous and, I like to see multiple people. And so I was like, okay. So before our relationship was even really starting, I had this in my head that, okay, with this man, we'll be open, which I thought made sense too because we were living together. Let's just also somehow not make it so like
rigid.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I really do just I feel like I really resonate with the idea of open relationship, polyamorous. I see how there's so much communication that needs to go on. With this relationship with this man, we were actually, we said we were open, but we were pretty much monogamous for the first 6 months.
Right.
And then one day he just came home and said, I slept with my ex-girlfriend. Without any fucking warning. I mean, I was so hurt and I didn't have the tools at the time to communicate my hurt. I didn't even, I didn't realize that I was allowed to have boundaries with an open relationship.
Right.
And so, that relationship really suffered. But through the whole process, I think I've learned some tools to take in a next relationship and I would look forward to trying an open relationship.
But what if the next person that you're in an open relationship with also sleeps with their exes still?
I would just want to I would communicate, hey, tell me before you're going to sleep with someone. You know, I feel like I have more.
So that
I
would be
have
the
more
rule
rules.
for you?
Yeah.
So that would be it. Like
That
pre-knowledge instead of post-knowledge.
pre-knowledge. Yeah, just more. And also, I think something that I got from that relationship was I didn't realize that I was allowed to be hurt and fucking angry that he had slept with his ex-girlfriend. Because at the time I thought, well, we're open, so everything has to be okay. But
right.
that wasn't the case.
That would be the
That's
assumption most people would
Yeah.
make. No. In my opinion, in whatever relationship you're with anybody, you make the rules together.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm wrong, because you obviously wanted to get a heads up and he didn't realize or didn't want to. Were these rules, like, did you guys talk about it? Like, okay, so we're going into an open relationship. How do we do this?
No.
What are we going to do?
It was his first time having an open relationship and mine as well. And so neither of us had really any rules.
No.
You know, we just said, okay, it's an open relationship.
Whatever that means.
Mean?
Yeah. Whatever we ever think about what that means. Yeah. And I think, well, you know, now you know.
Absolutely.
But I do believe that it doesn't just go for open relationships. Although I do think that with open relationships, however you discuss it, that needs to be very clear. Because I think setting yourself up to get hurt is probably a little bit more there in an open relationship. And I also think that because it's two different individuals and they had to have very individual, and that's why I'm doing this project, individual feeling about what sex and love means to them, you also need to understand what the other one is. In that way you can respect the other one's feelings. And if you don't talk about that first, or that's something you could have probably talked about in the first 6 months when you were still monogamous, and then explore it like, so how would that work if we did this and then that, and how would that work if we did so hypothetically, and then you start like exploring those things.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, now you know. If you ever go down that road again.
Totally.
Are there any fetishes that you're interested in? Is there anything kinky? If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine too.
I think also I don't have so many fetishes. I like to be slapped around a little bit, choked. I really like that.
Yeah. Why do you like that?
I like someone to just like take control of me.
Right.
And
so you like
pin
to be
me down.
Dominated.
Yes, because I'm quite a fiery Aries woman and quite independent. So it feels really good for me when someone, also for me, it makes me feel like, oh, this person really wants me. They're, like pinning me down and going for it. I did have, and this fantasy started when I was with this man in the open relationship, realized that I had like a rape fantasy that I wanted to play out, actually. And we tried it a little bit. Me and him had tried it a little bit. But that really actually kind of turned me on.
Interesting.
And again, this space, I think, of just being like fully dominated.
But that goes hand in hand with like, because rape isn't so much about sex, isn't it? It's more about the power somebody has over you. So yeah. So I would say you like to be dominated. Mm-hmm. But does that always involve sex?
Versus like work?
No, versus like just being
playing.
Yeah, just wanting to be like spanked, or like is the spanking always leading to sex, or is you're having sex and then you want to be spanked? Because some people don't always relate, the S&M stuff with sex. For them, it's really just about that power and being powerless, and it doesn't always turn into sex. So that's why I'm asking.
I would love to have more partners and friends and lovers that could be playfully dominant over me, even if we're not fucking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then you do have an interest in more like hanging out with, I can only say dominatrix. I don't know what the male version of that is. But a dominant.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you explored that a little bit in Berlin? Like, do you know where to go to, or have you asked people about it?
I mean, I'm finding it coming up a little bit in the sex that I'm having.
Right.
I haven't really been to any sex clubs specifically. I mean, I go to Kit Kat Club.
That's it?
I haven't been to any specifically. Yeah, like, no. Like private sex party or anything. Right. But very curious too. And yeah, I think it'll come.
What do you think of Kit Kat Club?
Well, I'll say one of the number one reasons I moved to Berlin was techno. So I go and I just dance my ass off. Yeah. I've been to Kit Kat Club like 3 or 4 times. And sometimes I find it to be more sexual than others. Just from what I'm seeing there. Yeah, I think it's cool to just have a space where people feel free to have sex in public, and I like watching it. I mean, last time I was at Kit Kat Club, I was seeing, sometimes it's a little hard to see these things in like the club culture.
Why?
Well, I was at a Kit Kat Club last time I was there, and there's one woman and she was with like 3 men, and she was just very far from sober. Right. But she was fully standing and dancing and laughing, but she was just like, and she really looked like she was the one who was initiating everything sexual that was happening. Mm-hmm. But it was just also like I could really also see how like far from sober she was. So it was an interesting thing to like, yeah, see. I mean, she was also like running and dancing and jumping, but she was also like getting fucked in line and here and there, and then I saw her all around the club just.
Was she fully naked, running around? Oh
yeah, of course.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine goes to Kit Kat Club, and he just said, "I go there to watch the circus."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. now you've kind of emphasized on what he meant, because I wasn't really sure what he meant by that. I didn't ask. I was eating. So I was like, we can talk about this some other time when I'm not having Korean barbecue. Mm-hmm. Did anything ever happen to you that wasn't so pleasant sexually, where you were like, I want this to stop? Maybe it didn't stop at that moment, or if you want to talk about it, again, you don't have to.
I'm open to talking about it. I've never, like, I would not say that I've ever been raped. No, I've never had like full, sexual violence against me. But I do remember this one time I was having sex with a man, and he was someone who I had been seeing also. Like, it wasn't our first time seeing each other. And afterwards, I do remember the word rape in my head, actually.
Right.
Although I was also somehow like a full participant, but just how much of like the lack of him that I felt that he even saw me there.
Was it what I referred to before, like kind of
totally.
Thing, like you're just a body? And
totally.
Right.
And I think I even remember saying like stop or so. Yeah, and actually as I say that too, I can remember another situation when I was like back in high school where that kind of thing, where there have been probably many times where I've said before anything even happened, clothes were even off, like said to a man, I don't want to have sex tonight. And felt fully clear in myself, and then somehow we ended up having sex, and it was just like,
But why then? Because you already stated very clearly you didn't want to. Did you change your mind? Or
this one situation that I'm thinking of was, I was still in high school, so it was probably right around that time I started to have sex again. And I just remember being at a house party with someone, and then this guy who I met there said, oh, hey, I live just a few doors down. Why don't you come to my place? And for some reason I said, yeah, I guess maybe I thought he was cute or something. But as we were leaving, I'm like, yeah, we can go to your house. I don't know what I thought was going to happen there, but I'm
not going to have sex.
Yeah. And then he just like so fully, took me by the hand and like did not acknowledge a word that I was saying, that I had said.
Was he drunk? Was he
Yeah,
intoxicated?
I'm sure there was alcohol involved.
Right. With some people, you can't.
And they just have this like
tunnel vision of
what's
going to happen. No, they don't care. I think they're also it's toxic masculinity. They're being brought up to be that person. And then when they're drunk and they're drinking, that's just their goal. Like, I just want to get off.
And acknowledging too that, yeah, women also, we want to be loved and we like sex too.
Right.
So it's hard for me sometimes to, I'm trying to always find this balance. But of course there's... But when he's doing something when I'm saying no, of course.
I think that's still alive and well, that perception of women liking sex, and people like Erica Lust trying to change that perception. That, women like sex just as much as men. Making a bridge with that. Have you ever faked it?
Definitely never told a man that I had an orgasm if I didn't. Fuck no.
Wait a minute. You never told a man you had an orgasm when you didn't? So you never faked it?
No.
So that was a no. It's just like trying to rewind that in my head.
Yeah.
So you never faked an orgasm. So if you don't come... Ooh, explain this to me. So if you don't come... He came. What's the conversation usually?
You know what? There's not always a conversation. Sometimes I actually just find myself like a little agitated and bitchy afterwards. Yeah, just like, especially if it's like a newer relationship, I guess. Because I'm also like, I don't know how much am I... And it's a good point. Why wouldn't I tell a man hey, I want to have an orgasm too? Sometimes I totally do say that. And I'm getting more and more comfortable all the time.
Right.
Like...
Yeah, but there's a thing about not saying it or not pointing it out, right? So you can be not saying it and thinking, okay, well, I didn't have an orgasm. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And then it's not a big deal. Or you don't say it, leave him in the illusion that you might have had one. So he's not aware of it. Or you make a point of it of saying like, okay, that was really nice, but I didn't come. So we're going to have to do it again, or you're going to have to do something else. Mm-hmm. Then that's that next step. So if you're at that point not really into the orgasm, so it doesn't really matter. But if you are, you feel unsatisfied in some way.
Well, this is actually the other point is sometimes it's really not that easy for me to have an orgasm, as bad as I may want to, and regardless of what it seems like he's doing, which I am finding now, that it does seem to make a difference. Where am I at emotionally with this man? Right. It's easier for me to have an orgasm if I feel safe and if I really do like this man, and I feel like he really sees me. And sometimes I can have sex with a man and he comes and I don't come, but I'm still actually like fully satisfied with it. And I don't need to put the pressure on myself. God damn it, I need to have a fucking orgasm. And I'm like, I really am trying to like also take my, I'm trying to take that pressure off of myself, that I need to have an orgasm to have good sex.
Right.
Of course I want to have orgasms during sex. Of course.
You want.
Yeah. But sometimes I feel like such deep pleasure during sex, I'm close. But I don't always have an orgasm now.
And it doesn't frustrate you?
Yeah, it frustrates me. Yeah, I would love to have more orgasms during sex. And I just appreciate it when a man asks after, oh, did you come? Or maybe during, like, is it okay if I come now? Right? Instead of just expecting that it's okay for sex to be over. That does bother me. Like, when a man just comes and it's over and there was no conversation about it.
Yeah, is it generally when you sleep with men, that's when it's done? Because I wouldn't know, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the moment. Okay.
Yeah. When he has an orgasm, yeah, it's done.
How does that? And you
you
say something?
Well, it fucking sucks when I'm like really into it. I was so close to having an orgasm too, and then he comes, and then I'm like high up there, and he's just like, oh.
So
I'm tired.
Do you finish it off yourself then? Have you done that?
Sometimes, yes, I have done that.
Did you make a point of it? Did you tell him like, well, that sucks, dude? Like, glad you got off, but I didn't.
Yeah. I think, it is different every time. Sometimes, sometimes I'm just fucking annoyed. Also, I'm finding in myself, I am quick to also just like have a whole story in my head and just say, okay, well, fuck this guy, not going to see him anymore. Instead of opening up the conversation and allowing myself to actually get more intimate with these people by having conversations about how I'm actually feeling. Instead of just saying, you're an asshole, you obviously don't care about my pleasure or like my feelings in this. So like, fuck off, we're not seeing each other anymore.
Right. Well, either way, it all comes down to communication.
Yeah.
Also, these guys will not learn anything if women just keep stumm and, continuing this thing of not calling them out on it.
Not calling them out on it, right.
And I think that is toxic as well, where you're
Right.
not really opening up and saying, make somebody aware of it. Not everybody is the same way. And that's what I'm trying to point out, that the only way you're going to be satisfied in a relationship and with sex is when you talk about these things to make the other person read your manual. But you're going to have to explain this manual. You're going to say, this is how this works. This is, what my clit likes. This is what it doesn't like. And, and say, sometimes I can't come. Sometimes I do. Discuss these things.
Totally.
And, I don't know. So you said you were actually not having that many one-night stands right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them one-night stands. They're like second date stands.
So you meet somebody, jumping into bed with them right away.
Mm-hmm.
You get to know them a little bit better.
A little bit.
And so you wait till the second date.
Yeah, or so. Yeah, but it's been making me feel better to
kind of wait.
Yeah, have this guy say, oh, let's see each other again, or me or whatever. But currently I'm kind of in the space of wanting men to just take some more charge. Because I've also found throughout my years, it's easy for me to be the one who initiates so many things.
Right. Okay.
And so taking my hands off, having them, make the initiative to, I want to see you again. Okay, that feels good. That makes me feel desired and beautiful.
Right.
And then, but I love sex. I want more sex. But I want good sex.
Right.
And I do want consistency also.
Right. So basically what you're saying, you just want to meet a nice guy that you know a little bit better, that gives you good sex all the time.
Yeah. I would love that.
And that will take it just anywhere. He will throw you on the kitchen table. And
yeah.
Tell me your best sex ever. Your best sex ever story.
It's hard to say.
Because you have had so much sex?
Yeah, because I'm not like in that space right now lately where I'm having so much sex that makes me feel like it's the best sex ever. I'll tell you what I want. I don't know what my best sex ever. I have like crazy stories, yeah?
Yeah, what is the craziest sex you have?
I have a crazy story.
Like, did you ever go to Burning Man and did it in the desert or something? Something
course.
Crazy. Okay, well, that was obvious.
It's not so crazy. That was not on my list of crazy.
Well,
actually.
then tell me the crazy one. What's the craziest sex that you had?
One time one time.
Everybody listening is going to go say, at band camp?
Yeah, this one time at band camp in Berlin. Of course, I was in Berlin. It was a Tinder date, actually. I met this man. I was just visiting Berlin. I actually wasn't living here yet. And Tinder date, super spontaneous. We just met quite spontaneously. We ended up going back to his house, and it was just so exploratory, and he ended up like fisting me.
Really?
Yeah, or at least trying to.
Where was the setting? Did
his
you take
house,
his
bedroom?
Okay, yeah.
And I've never experienced that before or after that, and never really thought that I would. And what I found with the experience, and I saw this man a few times more and really loved sex with him, And this experience of the fisting, I mean, I actually didn't have a whole arm in my body at all. But it was so intimate, and he was so caring and communicative with me throughout the whole thing, which I realized was this like deep intimacy, I think. And it was also this wild experience that was so unique. You know, I was just so out of my element with it. And that was like a really wild experience.
And was it satisfying? Outside of the emotional thing that
sex itself
sounds important. The sex itself, the physical experience.
I was so into it.
Did you come? Did you have an orgasm from it?
I think eventually I did. There's also this space of,
because was that a foreplay thing? Like, did it?
Yeah, I think we had sex before, and then after. He also had a penis pump that he was like using on my body. It was so wild. It was just like so.
A penis pump on your body?
I don't know if it was a penis pump. Was it a pussy pump? I don't know. But he was like, it was just so exploratory. Also, this kind of space where we're like fucking kids, just like.
What do you got? What is this toy? What do you do with that? I don't like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that was really cool. I really liked that experience.
All right.
And I was satisfied with it.
Well, now we know what to give you for your birthday. Penis pump. And you can play with it all the time.
And with that, though, right? It also, that and the fisting, it wasn't that it was such an ecstatic sensation, but it was this space of being fucking silly and just strange.
Oh, yeah. Did you laugh a lot?
I'm sure.
Yeah. I think those are the best sex experiences, when you laugh with somebody that you're having sex with. And there's a lot of laughter as well. That it becomes intense, and then it's laughing, and then it's intense, and then you're laughing again. Yeah.
I would love that.
That's good. I think that's good sex. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
For this very open chat.
Yeah. My pleasure.
That's a good ending. Thank you for listening to the very first episode of this project. Please also listen to the introduction as to why I'm doing this project. And if you would like to participate or have any questions, please email me at sexualityscaleproject@gmail.com. That is sexualityscaleproject@gmail.com. And please keep it respectful. This is meant to be a safe space.
Won't you rub your fingers